Mom protected my sister, who stole money from me and wanted to send me to military school.
This happened when I was 14 years old, about a year before my parents' divorce. My younger sister always quickly spent her allowance, especially on cosmetics, food at the mall, video games, and clothes from Hot Topic. Although my parents gave me an allowance too, Dad made me earn it by cleaning the house and working in the yard. My sister, on the other hand, wouldn't do anything unless Dad was standing right there. Mom didn't make her do anything either, except clean her own room. To earn extra money, I mowed lawns for neighbors, collected cans scattered around the neighborhood to redeem them for 5 cents each, and did other odd jobs. At the time, I was saving up for a scooter so I could ride around town. Over 2 years, doing random jobs and saving most of my allowance, I had saved about $2,000. But it wasn't easy to collect that money, mostly because of my sister. She knew all my hiding spots for cash and stole from them. Here's roughly how it went. "Hey sis, did you take my money again? Sis." "What? No." She lied when caught. "You're disgustingly bad at lying. $100 is missing from my savings, sis." "Leave me alone. I didn't do it." She'd start crying in an annoying way and run to Mom. "Mom, my brother's bothering me." And I said, "She stole my money again." Mom snapped her fingers at me. "Shut up. Can't you see my baby is upset? She said she didn't take it, so she didn't, and that's it. If you don't stop, I'll punish you." I know she did it. If you don't make her return the money, I'll tell Dad, Mom." "There's no need for that, especially since you have no proof she took your money." Yes, I do. I keep track of every single dollar. 3 days ago, I had $4,000, and now I only have $3,900. $100 is missing, and you know she's already stolen from me several times before. Plus, I know her allowance ran out this month, and yesterday you took her shopping. Where did she get the money?" Mom paused for a second, then frowned. "You know what? You're grounded. Go to your room or I'll get the belt." I could have kept arguing, but if I had learned anything in this house, it was when to stop talking and just call Dad. Without a word, I went to my room and slammed the door shut. Then I took out my Nokia and called Dad at work. He didn't answer, so I left a message explaining everything. About an hour later, he called back and said he'd handle it. Soon after, I heard the landline ring and Mom yelling at Dad in the kitchen. I couldn't hear everything, but I heard Mom trying to justify herself, which never worked when she was in the wrong. Eventually, she shouted something like, "Fine, if she really took the money, you'll just have to give it back since she's already spent it." Then Mom flung my bedroom door open and screamed at me. "I can't believe you snitched on me, you ungrateful bastard. After everything I do for you, you couldn't just let a small amount go?" "So you admit my sister stole the money." "I don't care. Girls need more money than boys. You should have just given it to her. It's just a little." "She stole $100, and even if it were just $1, I'd still want it back. You wouldn't want someone stealing from your purse, would you? It's no different if my sister steals from me. She's guilty, and you know it. I want the money returned somehow. I earned it honestly, and she hasn't done anything. She deserves to be treated accordingly. This isn't my problem. Let her be a princess as long as she stays away from me and my stuff."
"That's it, you little bastard. I'm gonna whoop your ass." I stood up and looked her in the eye. At 14, I was already her height and pretty strong from working outside. "Go ahead. I won't let you do it because I haven't done anything wrong." Mom froze for a moment, then growled loudly and swung her hand, trying to knock something off my dresser, but she hit too low and slammed straight into the dresser, which I'm sure hurt. She grabbed her hand, trying to hold back the pain, and glared at me furiously, grinding her teeth. Then just turned around and walked out. I heard her yelling and banging on the walls as she walked down the hallway and downstairs. Then she went to the kitchen to do what she always did when things didn't go her way, open the wine fridge and get drunk. My sister was watching me from her doorway, looking scared, then disappeared into her room and slammed the door. Mom had always been her shield to avoid punishment for everything she did to me. But everything changed quickly. A few minutes later, Dad came home from work and brought my sister to my room. He made her admit she stole the money and said I wasn't punished. My sister refused to even look at me while being forced to apologize. At first, she spoke in the quietest, whiniest voice until Dad told her several times to speak louder, and she practically shouted it. Then, Dad gave me $100 to reimburse what was stolen and said my sister was grounded for a week. The stolen amount would be deducted from her allowance, which made her start sobbing and cursing at Dad. Then she ran to her room. Mom was sitting in the backyard, drinking her favorite wine and ignoring all of us. She never apologized to me and even acted as if nothing had happened. And as hurtful as that was, my sister still got her allowance the next time, only this time Mom gave it to her instead of Dad. A few days later, on Dad's day off, we went to the local store and he bought me a safe to store my money and other valuables. We didn't tell Mom or my sister about it. The safe had a 4-digit code, and if I recall correctly, I used the code 496. I put all my money in the safe, locked it, and hid it in the back of my closet. A few weeks passed. One day I came home from mowing lawns for neighbors and found my room trashed. I called Mom and told her my sister had done it to my room. Mom, as always, denied it. "My baby wouldn't do that." "Well then, did you do it?" "No." "Then who else could have done it? My room was clean when I left, and besides, you two, no one else was here." Mom, clearly annoyed at being cornered by logic. "All right, but even if she did it, so what? It's your punishment for treating her badly." I called Dad again and left a message on his work voicemail about what had happened. Then I went to my sister's room and told her I knew she'd trash my room. Before she could reply, I said she'd never get to my money again because it was locked in a safe. That sent her into a real tantrum, and, of course, Mom came rushing to help like an angry mama bear. But I just repeated that my sister wouldn't be able to take my money anymore, and went back to my room to clean up while my sister kept screaming in her room for about 20 minutes. Nothing was missing or broken. Everything was just scattered. I cleaned the room, but the next day I found it trashed again. And now the window was broken too. My sister had thrown the safe out the window because she couldn't open it. I immediately called Dad. When Mom and Dad got home from work, my sister proudly admitted she'd done it. Mom actually tried to side with her, saying, "You shouldn't have bought that safe in the first place." Every time she stole money from me and spent it, Dad had to pay me back because Mom never did. My parents had to replace the window in my room. Dad installed a lock on my door and even mounted a wall safe with a combination lock near the door to store the key to my room. My sister was grounded for a month for breaking the window and had to stay in her room the whole time Dad was home. While Dad was at work, Mom always let her do whatever she wanted, like playing video games or watching TV. I didn't say anything to Dad about that because I knew if I did, both my sister and Mom would go out of their way to make my life even worse. After her month-long punishment ended, my sister started begging me to lend her money every time she ran out of her allowance, but I just told her she'd never pay it back because she didn't earn anything and never saved anything. Just for fun, I wrote up a loan agreement and checked if she'd sign it in front of Dad. She tore the paper in half and ran to Mom again, crying that I'd been unfair to her. Both she and Mom tried to pressure me into giving her money, but I simply reminded them that Dad could do it instead. So if my sister wanted more money, she definitely wouldn't get it from me. After that, Mom tried to send me to military school, but Dad wouldn't allow it. And yes, if anyone's wondering why my dad didn't help me open a savings account back then, I really don't know. I guess keeping cash on hand was just normal for us.
Update 1. Because of me, Mom crashed into the door. Soon after Dad gave me the safe for my money, he also installed a lock on my bedroom door and a wall-mounted combination lock to store the key, because my sister had thrown the safe out my window. We installed everything while Mom and my sister were away. When my sister first walked past my room that day, I saw her glance at the lock and immediately run to get Mom. They both stormed upstairs, but were met by me and Dad. The conversation went roughly like this. Mom, snapping her fingers and pointing at me, "What the hell is this?" Dad, "I know it's a damn lock, but why is it here?" Mom, "Because you never punish or stop our daughter from stealing or trashing someone else's room, so now there'll be a lock." Mom, "He's only 14 and this is my house. He can't have a lock on his door." Dad, no, it's our house. As far as I remember, I've paid most of the mortgage and bills. You barely contribute anything, and I'm tired of you constantly enabling our daughter while our son suffers because of it. Mom, then I demand you at least tell me the code to this lock. Dad, stone-faced, I won't, because you've shown you can't be trusted. Mom exploded and stormed downstairs with a bang. My sister just stood there with a hurt look, then slowly walked to her room. With the new lock, everything was great, and I got used to locking it every time I left my room. More than once, I noticed Mom and my sister staring intently as I entered the code, but I always blocked their view with my hand or body. They hated it, but there was nothing they could do. One day, near the end of the month, my sister came to me begging to borrow $40 to buy a video game she really wanted. Me, why do you keep coming to me for money when we both know you'll never pay back? Sister, I will, I swear. Me, no you won't. Every month you spend everything you have and a bit more, and you're sure it's better to spend all your allowance than repay me? You always do that. Sister, no I don't. Well, how about we test that? I went to my room, grabbed a sheet of paper and a pen, and hand-wrote a loan agreement stating my sister would repay me $40 upon receiving her monthly allowance. The agreement had to be signed in Dad's presence as witness. My sister read the paper, started sobbing, tore it in half, and ran crying to Mom again, exactly what she did every time things didn't go her way. Sister, sobbing, Mom, do you know what he did again? Mom, what did Keg do again? Me, she wanted to borrow money, and I asked her to sign a promissory note in front of Dad, and she freaked out. Mom, why did you do that? She just wanted to borrow a little money. Me, would you sign my promissory note so I could be sure she'd pay it back? Mom, you little bastard. I don't have to sign anything. Just lend her the money. Me, only after a signed agreement. Mom stood up, raised her hand as if ready to hit me, but then changed her mind. Mom, you're just like your father. You have to document absolutely everything. I hate that. Me, heading upstairs to my room. I guess it's good I'm like Dad because that's way better than being like you, like my sister, since you never do anything good. Mom, what did you just say, you little bastard? She started climbing the stairs just as I entered my room and locked the door. Mom had a habit of flinging my door open to yell at me. She'd do it in one swift motion, bursting right in. The lock hadn't been long, so she hadn't gotten used to it yet. I slid the bolt, and she tried to swing the door open, but smashed straight into it with a loud thud. Then I heard her fall to the floor and start screaming in pain. She'd hit the solid wood door hard with her body and face. The door, by the way, was solid wood. Mom ended up with a swollen lip and a bruise on her forehead. I opened the door, and she was lying on the floor, pounding her fists. Mom, you set me up for this, you little bastard. Me, you crashed into the door yourself. Mom, you're grounded. Get out of my sight.
Update 2. My mom tried to send me to military school and forged Dad's signature. It backfired on her. After the last time I stood up to Mom when she threatened to spank me, she seemed to become more cautious, realizing that if she actually tried to hit me, it could end very badly for her. So she mostly just yelled at me and didn't touch me anymore, at least until the events years later when she wanted my house. I didn't pay attention to her tantrums and just kept doing my usual routine, school, and odd jobs. My 15th birthday was coming up soon, and Dad gave me motor kits for my bicycle so I could get around town. He said I should save for a car instead of a scooter, and for now I could use an electric bike. I agreed with his logic and kept saving, but now for a car. However, a few days later, I found a military school brochure while sweeping the backyard after mowing the lawn. It was lying on the ground under the table where Mom liked to sit and drink wine. I had a bad feeling she was planning some crazy scheme, so I waited for Dad to come home and showed him the find. He was very angry, but didn't jump to conclusions. He went to Mom with the brochure to ask her about it. Dad, honey, what's this? Mom, turning pale when she saw the brochure. I don't know, I've never seen this before. Really? Because it says here you were planning to send Keg to military school. You know I'd never allow that. At that point, Mom dropped the innocent act and shouted, "He needs to learn discipline." He's always locking his door and I can't spank him anymore because he's too big. It's the only way to punish him for being a disobedient brat. Keg hasn't done anything wrong. If anything, our daughter is the spoiled one, because of you and the fact that you let her steal from her brother. In short, the discussion about sending Keg to military school was over. If you do it, I swear you'll be in big trouble. Well, it seems the whole family wants to take away my last bit of authority in this house. If I have nothing left, then life has no meaning either. Stop dramatizing just because Keg is growing up and becoming independent. He earns his own money. After that, Mom bolted out of the room like a bullet. The next morning before school, I saw her furiously trying to stuff something into the kitchen trash can. I waited until she left for work and pulled out what she'd tried to hide. It was a completed military school application entirely in her handwriting. It required both parents' and guardians' signatures, and there were 2 signatures on the document. I recognized Mom's signature, but the second was a pathetic attempt to forge Dad's. Dad had always been proud of his elaborate signature, and Mom had no chance of copying it without leaving obvious signs of fraud. She seems she realized this after being caught and gave up on the idea of sending me away. I kept the papers and showed them to Dad later. He was angry, but thought Mom had already abandoned the plan, so he decided to let it go, though he did keep the documents in his office just in case. A few more months later, it turned out Mom had been cheating on Dad with her high school ex-boyfriend. For Dad, that was the final straw, and he filed for divorce. A few months after that, I moved in with him after he bought a new house. The divorce process sped up when Dad presented the military school papers showing Mom had forged his signature. And it wasn't the first time. He also had proof she'd forged his signature on at least one credit card application and another document. Details I no longer remember. Mom got the house because Dad didn't want it, but she also demanded alimony and child support since my sister was expected to stay with her. The court awarded Mom child support and minimal alimony with monthly payments for 10 years. Essentially, the alimony only covered my sister's allowance. Mom was furious about this and threatened to sue Dad again, but for years he held the threat of exposing her forged signatures over her head to keep her from bothering him. On the day I left to live in Dad's new house, my sister stuck her tongue out at me and smugly said Mom had told her she was a princess and the more worthy child, so I was the one leaving the house. I just shook my head and said I didn't care what she thought anymore. Then I walked out the door, finally feeling free as a bird. Our relationship only got worse whenever she visited Dad once a week, until we eventually stopped talking altogether. I didn't really want to visit Mom. She'd basically turned my old room into a home office.
Well, please share your thoughts on this whole story. Personally, I'm glad that in this family, at least one person, Dad, was on this boy's side. In most of our stories, the entire family covers up for one favorite child, while everyone else is left out in the cold. I'm glad this story wasn't like that. Thanks for watching this video to the end. Check out our previous video, which you'll see right here. Subscribe to the channel. There will be many more videos like this. And good luck!